Why, hello there, friends. It is very good to see you guys today. It is. Oh my, forgive me that I had taken a long break. Oh my, we had some big adventures at our house the last 7, 8, 9, 10 days. And so, yeah, I had to take a break from YouTube and take a pause on my channel. Long story short, my 2 nieces came to stay with us for a full week, ages 3 and 4. Brand new, ages 3 and 4. Like when I went to go pick them up, the 4-year-old, that was her birthday. She had just turned 4. So, and it's a very stressful, sad situation that's going on in their home. And so that was, I will make a video about that another day. I really will. But I learned, my husband and I, we learned so much about our grief and what we are able to do. And the biggest lesson that I learned is that I miss my Noah and my Sophia. Yeah, I do. Noah and Sophia were murdered in 2017 by their oldest brother. Our family has experienced trauma to the utmost level. The 2 teenagers in my home have seen something that no person should ever see. Most likely people outside of war, you know? And so to bring in 2 more small children who have had trauma in their lives and are experiencing a lot of turmoil and instability in their lives was way above my pay grade. Very much so, way above me and my husband's pay grade. It brought so many triggers into our home. So, besides that, friends, let's stay on topic, okay? And so I just wanted to share that real briefly with you. And so thank you for your patience with me. Thank you for joining me back with this channel. And yeah, so let's just jump right into it, shall we, friends? You know, beautiful people. I'm talking about teenagers and teen grief. I have 2 teenagers at home still. And when Noah and Sophia were brutally murdered, our son was 14 and our daughter was 12. And so now they are 16 and 18. One's a junior in high school and one is a freshman in college. And teenagers, their grief is extremely similar and yet different. And today I wanted to talk about confusion in grief. And teenagers think in confusion, basically, leave me alone, but don't go too far. Can anyone relate to that? Even with teenagers outside of grief, just teenagers in the normalcy of their lives, a lot of them will have that attitude of leave me alone. And then on the flip side, their behavior also speaks, but don't go too far. So I have my notes, friends. So yes, I will look down and all that good stuff. It's what I call the grief brain. My brain is different in grief. Can anyone relate to that? The brain chemistry is different in grief. So in my last video, I talked about the loneliness of grief and that how no one can truly know how we feel, right, in grief. Your grief is your grief. My grief is my grief. Our griefs are similar in the way we think and feel inside. We might mourn similarly, like expressing our grief outside of ourselves, but there is such a uniqueness within each one of our griefs. Doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're 5 years old, 16 years old, 18, or 44. And everything in between, right? And teenagers often experience loneliness and loss can elevate their sense of isolation. So, you know, it just heightens it for them. And we help them see that feeling lonely in times of loss is natural and common. That there's nothing wrong with them for feeling that way. And my husband and I are learning to walk together with our teenagers, even though, and at times, we feel alone. So we're just trying to adjust as a family in our own loneliness, you know, overwhelmed by the emotional demands. Teenagers often feel trapped within their emotions and they're just not sure what they need. They're just not. It's very similar to kids, you know, and it can be a frustrating and very confusing time for teenagers. Yeah, grief requires space. It does, friends, you know, to process these teenagers, to process their loss in like healthy ways. I guess teenagers need a balance of time alone and time spent with people that are healthy and helpful to them. That makes sense, right? Yeah. Well, not all the time me and their dad are helpful or healthy for them. Yeah, you know. I'm going to read some stuff again, like I do with my other videos, from the Grieving Teen Heart. I just feel like this speaks volumes to anything I could rattle out of my mouth, to just share with you some of the things from the grieving teenager's heart and mind. Some of the things they think about are, just go away. Everyone, please just go away. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know how to think about this, much less make sense of it. I can't breathe. I need air. I need space. Can't people see that I'm hurting? I would think it's pretty obvious. But they all seem to expect me to be okay or to be better. Maybe I'm a better actress than I think. Acting, yes, that's what life is. I'm an actress on a stage, playing a role, playing a lot of roles. It may look like I'm doing fine, but off stage, I'm falling apart. I'm desperately trying to hold myself together. I wonder how much longer I can do that. Another teen thinks, it would be great if the world would just go away. But I don't want to be alone either. At least not for very long. Being alone for a bit is okay. But feeling truly alone, left behind and lost, terrifies me. I think us adults can relate to these things too, don't we? Who likes to be rejected and isolated? Yeah, sign me up for that one, right? You know, we don't. We don't, and neither do the teenagers. Another thought is, everything is closing in. School, classes, grades, friends, family, people, life. I feel surrounded and hemmed in. Like everyone is looking at me and talking to me all at once. It's loud, garbled, like a bunch of noise. Another thought, no one has any satisfying answers. No one seems to be happy either. But then they expect me to be? Yeah, they observe. They notice that none of us are happy. Another thought is, happy? I forgot what that feels like. I'm not sure I know for sure what it is. When I smile or laugh now, I feel guilty. Like I've done something evil. How dare I feel something good when you're dead? I can definitely relate to that. But I want to feel good, is another thought. It's all too much. I need space. Another thought, leave me alone. Another thought, that's what I want to say, but I don't say it. That wouldn't be good. People already don't like how I'm doing, so why make it worse? Another thought, why can't people mind their own business? It's my life, isn't it? I should be able to feel what I want, do what I want, say what I want. I'm tired of faking it, and I feel like I'm faking it pretty much all the time. Another thought, being alone is easier. I want space. I need lots of space. Another thought, life has gotten smaller. Maybe it's perhaps I've shrunk. I sure don't feel confident or strong. I feel like I've been in a bad fight and lost. I'm sad, weak, and defeated, and I'm embarrassed about it. I'm a man. What's wrong with me? From a teenage boy. Another thought from a teenage young man. I don't think I really like being alone. I don't know if it's good for me or not, but it sure does feel good sometimes. Peaceful, at least for a while. Another thought is that peace can evaporate quickly, and sometimes I feel worse around people, and sometimes I feel better. I don't know. Am I supposed to know? Go away, but be there when I need you. I know that doesn't make sense, but nothing makes sense right now. Yeah, grief requires space. It does for us adults. It does for the teenagers also. You know, when we lost Noah and Sophia, our hearts and lives took a big hit. It took a big, big hit. And we get emotionally wounded and bruised. You know, things begin to close in on us, and it seems like our world is shrinking. You know, we feel claustrophobic. You know, we do. And it can be difficult to breathe. Literally and figuratively, it's difficult to breathe. We need air. We need space. We need time alone to process, rest, and try to begin to adjust to life without Malik, Noah, and Sophia. Adjusting to life of Malik in prison for 96 years. Then my mother and father died last year. My grandmother. We need times when we're free from having to relate and to be responsible for everything. We do. We sure do. You know, our hearts are broken, shattered. We need time to adjust, right? And yet we need people too. So do the teenagers. We're wired for connection, right, guys? You know, we aren't designed to do life alone or walk through grief without the hope of some great and good traveling companions. Yeah, we're just not, guys. You know, like I said, grief needs its space, but yet we also need people too. And so that's where that really thin line comes in, that balance of trying to adjust that. So we need time to ourselves while staying connected to others, right? So this can be a real delicate balance. It's different for every person, and it varies from day to day. You know, even from hour to hour within the same day, it can vary. Like 1 hour, we want space. We don't want to talk to anybody. We want to be left alone. And then maybe the very next hour, we're desiring to be around people. Or maybe the teenager might just come out of the room, kind of come through. They're not really wanting a whole lot of conversation. They're just kind of checking out the atmosphere, seeing what other people are doing, just to kind of be a sense to be around some people again. And then sometimes they want to talk and they want to have a full conversation. You know, it just really does vary. What we need, what teenagers need, who, when, and why is a moving target. Okay, so that target is always moving for teenagers. What they need, who they need it from, when they need it, and why they need it. So all of this can be confusing. Shoo, it's confusing for me as their mother. You know, it's confusing. You know, when it comes to teenagers, adults may often get the leave me alone vibe. We often get that vibe from them. Okay, so we just probably need to be aware of that. You know, this like the slumped shoulders, their heads are turned, you know, eyes rolling, defiant stares, right? Standing hands on hips or back to you. I mean, you can tell by their body language that says, leave me alone, right? And that whole body language basically says, don't get too close. I'm good. Don't mess with me. What can you do anyway? You don't understand me. It's a sad vibe, you know. We must keep in mind that teenagers often don't know what they want or need. You know, they're experimenting, right? Just like we did as teenagers, you know, learning by trial and error as they go, right? They tend to listen most to their friends and peers, right? Who are in the same boat as they are. And on some level, they are usually testing us as the adults, aren't they? Testing us. And like they're basically asking us, do you care? Let me push you back a little and see what you do. After all, I don't care much for myself right now, so why would you care about me? That's a hard stance to break through, friends. It's the grace of God that allows me and helps me to try to break through those vibes with my teenagers. I have to really need to approach them with the love of God, the love that's tender kindness, patient, gentle, not judging, Yeah. Yes, we care. Of course we care. But teenagers, I think they can have a hard time even reading our body language and understanding truthfully that we do care about them, even though we may not understand. But we care. We can relate, So yes, we can make a difference in our teenagers' lives. We really can. And I know teenagers are really good at making us feel like we don't make a difference in their lives or we cannot make a difference in their lives. But we do. And we can. We can. And so I want to encourage you with that. With the teenagers in your life, you can make a difference. We don't need to give up on them. We just need to know that often often teenagers seem to be communicating may not be what they're actually saying, right? Like the other stuff I just said earlier. So, go away might be instead, give me space, but don't go too far because I really need you right now. So maybe if we as parents or their caregivers or teachers, whoever we are in those teenagers' lives, think about that. Even though they're telling us, go away, what they might be saying instead is, give me some space, but don't go too far because I do really need you. Right? They need to know that you're there. Show up in ways that fit your relationship with them. Be available as you can. Meet them on their turf. So often we want to bring these teenagers to our turf, but they ain't got no damn business being on our turf. We can't bring them up to our turf and level, but we can go down to theirs. Accept them where they are and love them there. Day by day, moment by moment. Really, isn't that what we want from others? To love us where we are, right where we are? We need to be aware that teenagers who are hurting, they can be erratic and somewhat unpredictable. Yeah, like some adults I know who are hurting. Their behavior is erratic and unpredictable. So, they have a lot going, these teenagers, they have a lot going on inside and they just aren't sure what to do with it. Okay? These rise in their feelings of dread, fear, frustration, confusion, it's so natural and common in grief. And they are often feelings that seem contradictory, very much so. So the teenage years are challenging enough, and the deaths of Noah and Sophia have put the degree of difficulty basically over the top for us. Yeah, we got to watch out for making things not about me and my need to help. Ooh, that's a big one, right? Us mothers, we are such nurturers. And we tend to end up making it about us and our need to help. But I talked about this in my last several videos, and so I think it probably bears repeating that we want to make a difference. We like to be able to measure progress, don't we? We like to measure our progress, and we want to make a difference. And so, but if we're not careful though, right, as mothers, as women over time, this can become more about our need to feel good about what we're doing and our involvement than about loving the teenager as they are in the moment. Yeah. And they'll sense that. They'll know that this thing, all of a sudden, this whole topic became about you and your need to fix them and your need to feel satisfied that you accomplished something with them. Yeah. Of course we want progress and healing, of course, but that's very difficult to measure in the grief process, especially in the short term. Yeah, it is. It is. So there are no linear stages. Okay? We don't move from denial into anger, from anger into bargaining, from bargaining into depression, and from depression into acceptance. It's not that simple. Okay? We move in and out of any of these or all of these all at the same time. Okay? Our hearts will not be easily boxed. Right, friends? Our hearts are not easily boxed, and neither will grief and healing and mourning and adjusting. None of those are going to be boxed in. Okay, the only remedy for grief is to grieve. That's my opinion. Mourn, expressing yourself, expressing your grief outside of yourself. In my experience, that seems to be the only thing that helps my grief is grieving, not pretending that it's not there, not keeping myself so busy with activities, and not keeping myself so busy with trying to fix everybody else and help everybody else so much. And this is painful to go through, and it's extremely unpleasant to watch. It is. And as their mother, I can feel useless and powerless at times. I have to resist the urge to fix and just show up. I have to rest assured that the teenager's heart is at work, and it's often subconsciously at work, okay? Struggling to process the loss and make sense of what it means for them personally. Our teenagers are struggling. What does it mean for them personally to no longer have 2 brothers and a sister, 3 siblings gone just like that? Yeah. It's an honor to walk alongside our teenagers in this journey, but it won't be easy. Not at all, friends. Not at all. And I would be definitely misleading you and lying if I said it was. I got to keep in mind that the teen will be served best by a network of people too. So in other words, don't do this alone. Don't do it alone. Don't take this all on yourself. Most of us, we want to be superhuman, but none of us will be the sole component in the healing of a teen's wounded heart. Yeah. That's definitely God's role. He will be the sole one, and he brings a network of people along to pour out his love onto these teenagers. We all need a good team around us, especially when we're hurting. Right? Right. But many of us don't always get that, though, do we? We tend to be pretty alone in our wounded hearts. Teenagers are no different, though, either. They're just no different. They just aren't friends, and they need friends and family, and they would also benefit from some helping professionals, maybe like a grief counselor, mentors, pastors, physicians, others who know grief. Both adults and teenagers can be especially important in this process with our teenagers. Yeah, they sure can, and I stay in prayer. I must stay in prayer. The Lord created our teenagers' hearts. He knows their hearts, and he is able to guide me, give me wisdom in the direction of help, of resources. And then also, leaving things leaving some things up to them too. when they are ready to see counselors, when they are ready for A, B, and C, then to take that step with them instead of forcing it upon them. And of course, I'm talking specifically for mine. They're a little bit older, 16 and 18. But I think we kind of know at the end of the day what is best for our teenagers, how to love them. But we just need to show up. Just show up. Love them where they are and understand that it's confusion. It's very confusing in grief. And grief requires space. It does. It requires space. And it also requires a good supporting group of family and friends too. So, well, friends, thank you. Sorry this video was a little long today, especially since I took the time at the beginning to do a little bit of chatting, but it's really good to see you guys today. I just can't say that enough. It is. And it's good to talk with you again today. And always, please feel free to message me, leave me a comment. Please, my email is in my description. Please feel free to reach out, share anything you want with me. I would love to hear from you. So, well, be well today. Be blessed. Remember, self-care. That's extremely important in grief. Self-care. And I will see you on my next video, friends.